It's Sunday, February 25th, 2024. I'm Ben Shatliff. You're watching Ben Shatliff on Sunday. On our programme today, we are devoting the programme entirely to the war in Ukraine. Yesterday was 2 years exactly since Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and also earlier this week it marked 10 years since the then Ukrainian president held a standoff against the students and ordinary citizens of Ukraine in Maidan in Kyiv. And all those students wanted to do at that stage was to join the European Union, and then led to the falling of the Russian-backed president, and then the annexation of Crimea. Since then, President Zelensky was elected in 2019 and has become a very popular president from the way in which he's handled the war in Ukraine, but also somebody who is not a puppet of Russia, which has happened in the past with previous presidents. On the programme today, we're reflecting on Ukraine and remembering all the people who are sadly no longer with us, who've been the victims of Russian aggression. I also want to read the statement from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority in relation to the Holodomor, which is another act of evil between 1932 and 1933. Before that, though, let's just take a moment of reflection. And just pause for a moment and think about all those people who've been the victims of Russian aggression. It was in the early hours of Thursday, February 24th, 2022, when the Russian tanks and Russian artillery invaded Ukraine, our sovereign European country. A country that all wanted was just its own freedom and independence. It had been independent since 1991 with the fall of the then Soviet Union, the former USSR. And Ukraine just wanted, and still wants, to be able to continue being an independent country without the neighbouring country Russia constantly causing issues of upset and violence. In 1932 to 1933, the then Russian President Joseph Stalin caused the Holodomor, which is where 2 to 3 million Ukrainian people were murdered by being starved to death. But Joseph Stalin got away with it. Still got away with it. The only reason why he ended up being a key player in the Second World War was because our own Prime Minister here in the United Kingdom, Sir Winston Churchill, he said he would rather do a deal with the devil if it meant getting rid of Hitler, which is why he had to do a deal with Joseph Stalin. But what happened then when the war ended in 1945, the war in Europe? All of the countries in Eastern Europe all ended up being part of the Soviet Union. So those countries didn't get their independence until later on. And now, the only country that this happens to still be part of the Soviet Union, or part of Russia, is of course Belarus. We all know that Belarus are pawns and sidekicks to Vladimir Putin's Russia. I'll just give you a little bit of history there. Now, when the full-scale invasion happened in Ukraine 2 years ago yesterday, most of the genuine decent countries of the world and most of the genuine decent people of the world came to Ukraine's aid and welcoming refugees. And I've managed to meet loads of who have now become really, really great friends of mine who have come from Ukraine. I don't like to use the term refugees. Refugees are ordinary people ordinary people that just want to be able to live in their own country with peace, stability, and freedom. And these absolutely lovely people who come over here to the United Kingdom and do so many good things, but also at the same time try to raise awareness of what's happening in Ukraine and wanting that war to end. And the team of us all work together every Saturday with Manchester Stands with Ukraine to make sure that the people of Manchester, Greater Manchester, know what's happening in Ukraine. And we'll hold our rallies from 2 to 3:30 at the Queen Victoria Memorial at Piccadilly Gardens, right in the city centre of Manchester. Now, initially, 2 years ago, the first rally, which happened on February 26, there were possibly 1,000 to 2,000 people there. Sadly, those numbers have dwindled, but we did get a good turnout yesterday, and we had a good turnout last week. The numbers have been increasing again slightly since Christmas and New Year. But the war in Ukraine is not over, and sadly, it's far from being over, because every time Ukraine manages to get a foot in, then Putin and his evil cronies do another act of evil, as if all acts of what Putin has done has been completely pure evil. But it is just something more. Now, they say, this is the Russians that say this, they say that they are after military targets. Well, apartment blocks are not military targets. There were ordinary, decent civilians there. Decent civilians that just want to be able to live their life in a normal way. And look at what's happening now with America. Why aren't Congress just giving the aid to Ukraine that can help those soldiers out there be able to do something to push the Russians back further? Because all that's happening now is Russia are advancing further by taking more cities, which is absolutely evil. On the programme today, I've dedicated and mentioned Ukraine on many, many times, but it wouldn't be right not to mention Ukraine today, as it is 2 years and 1 day since the full-scale invasion. Last week, I completed watching a documentary film called Winter on Fire, and it said all about what happened in a run-up and to and just after February the 20th, 2014. Now, what happened there in Maidan, which is the main square in Kyiv, is where all that they wanted, the students and other people as well, they wanted to be part of the European Union. Now, people here in the UK will relate to our referendum back in 2016. But the then Ukrainian president, who was a puppet of Vladimir Putin, stopped it. And in the end, sent the police there and the various different ones who committed genocide and started murdering these ordinary, decent students and civilians. And then just after that, there was the annexation of Crimea, when Putin took Crimea and other parts of Ukraine. So that's 10 years ago. So this war has been going on for 10 years, but it's been going on now on a full-scale version for 2 years. Now, there are so many ways in which we here in the United Kingdom can help. We can all go to the rallies every Saturday in Manchester, Birmingham, and other cities. London do one on a Sunday, and also other days as well. So we can all go to rallies and participate. But there's other ways that we can help as well. Of course, we can welcome in and sponsor Ukrainians as well. But there's other ways as well that we can do. Other ways that to some people might not seem something which is massive, but it certainly is massive. These candles here, once the wax has burnt out, I just put them into a special tin. front line in Ukraine to help the soldiers with heat and various different things like that. So keeping candle wax, leftover wax from candles, and even got my local church to help with this. We've got other churches involved. And what we will do, that all that wax there, once that's full up, will go to those soldiers on the front line to help them. And people that do vapes as well, and that is going to be outlawed in this country anyway, but the leftover vapes, all you need to do, they can go to the front line as well to help the soldiers do various different things. So there are all kinds of different practical ways, and as well as giving money to various different Ukrainian charities as well to help. And of course, there's various different shops and different outlets around the UK where people will take different items, which will go, some will go to the front line, some will help Ukrainians in the various different areas as well. So there's a whole variety of ways. For instance, say this, I could say about various shirts of mine that I may have grown out of, or various different things. I can send them for Ukrainians that need some help. So a whole variety of various different things. Some of the posters that I printed out, which I put on the background for today's special programme, I just want to go through some of them now. Stand with Ukraine, February 24, 2024. There's a website there, www.augb.co.uk. So you can go on there and see various different information. And then there's another one there. There's one here which is a cake of blood. It says 24 February, 24 months of full-scale war for 2 years. And then we've got this one here at the very top. Stand with Ukraine, return our children. Did you know that there are many, many, many children who Russia have kidnapped during the space of the last 2 years? Taking children from their families and taking them into Russia and kidnapped, and then trying to raise them as Russians. So that is what this is all about here. Return our children. It's awful. The whole part of what's been happening over the last 2 years, over the last 10 years, is all complete acts of evil. And you think just when one thing bad happens, and then something else happens, and everything else happens, they bombed the dam at the Dnipro last year. And, this is Russian I'm talking about. Russia bombed that dam, and of course they then try and blame it on Ukraine. And then when Ukraine, rightly so, hit Russian targets, Ukraine went, well, sorry, no apology. Russia, you started this, you invaded the country, you should be paying the price for exactly what you are doing. But luckily there have been some ships which have been sunk, some Russian ships, and also some planes and helicopters as well, which is brilliant. What we need to do now is to sink something over the Kremlin that could stop that. But then, whoever replaces Putin needs to be somebody who is for Ukraine and is for peace across the world. That isn't then going to, in so many years' time, say, oh, we'll invade Ukraine again. Because that is what keeps happening. I've mentioned about Stalin, I've mentioned about people, something like the Ins. It's always best to get the in out. But yes, but I do want to read something which I was given yesterday, and this is from the Greater Manchester Combined Authorities. It's a statement which I was asked to read out yesterday at our rally in Manchester. And 2022 to 23 marked the 90th anniversary of the Ukrainian man-made famine in 1932 to 1933, known as the Holodomor. In February 2024, we will experience the second anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and the valiant efforts of the Ukrainian people to retain democracy and independence. The GMCA, at the request of the local Ukrainian community in Greater Manchester, wishes to endorse the following statement. Believes that the Holodomor was a predetermined crime committed and led by the Soviet government against the people of Ukraine. Regards the Holodomor as an act of genocide against Ukrainians in 1932 to 1933, recognises the fourth Saturday of November as a day of remembrance for the innocent victims of the Holodomor. It's taken 90 years, but at least here in Manchester, this is being recognised as genocide, and other countries have them as well, but at least it's finally been recognised as genocide, and the fourth Saturday of November will always be recognised as a day of remembrance for the victims of the Holodomor. We've been talking about the war in Ukraine now for 2 years, and we'll continue to talk about what's happening in Ukraine until this war ends, and until we know that peace, stability, and freedom is always there for the people of Ukraine. Not just today, not just now, but forever. I want to thank everybody for joining me today on this very special edition of Ben Shatliff on Sunday. And I will leave you with the way which I ordinarily would do with our own theme. And let's hope that the peace of the Lord will reflect on Ukraine, have peace, stability, and freedom, not just for now, but for always. Slava Ukraine.
My soul is filled with joy as I sing to God my Savior. You have looked upon your servant, you have visited your people, and holy is your name. Through all generations, everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name. I am lowly as a child, but I know from this day forward that my name will be remembered, for all will call me blessed, and holy is your name. Through all generations, everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name. I proclaim the power of God. You do marvels for your servants, though you scatter the proud-hearted and destroy the might of princes, and holy is your name. Through all generations, everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name.